Hi, this is Debbie from Project 39 Mini Albums. Here is the Easter camper tutorial. I have made a camper using Valentine's Day papers available from countrycraftcreations.com. And this time I made one with Easter and decorated it that way. You could use all sorts of different motifs to decorate it, or just keep it outdoorsy. So here is what I used and how I made the camper. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, no, it's not that we're going to have lunch. I'm going to use these. So this is just a small lunch platter, I guess you'd call it. And I'm going to use this as one side of the circle. And then I'm going to take my smaller bowl, and this is 8.5 by 11 paper, by the way. And I'm going to put that up here. Now I'm going to grab my ruler. Oh, I'm going to grab my cup first. And my cup goes down at the bottom. And that's the wheel hub. So I'm going to take the ruler and go at an angle to about 1.5 inches, and then I'm just going to freehand the rest of it. So the top's going to be straight. We've got the curve of the small bowl. This bowl is about 5 1/4. And we've got the lunch platter, lunch plate, which is about 8.5. Okay, so that is our RV, or glamper. So now I'm going to take 110-pound cardstock, and I'll cut one out, trace it, and cut the second one out. So I'll go ahead and do that in fast motion. Fix the lights. Now, so we need two, one for the front, one for the back. So I'm going to just place this on here, use this as the pattern. And trace it. And cut this one out. Okay, so we have the two pieces. Now, this is one of those few projects where you decorate first and then put it together. So we're going to decorate the sides now. So basically you're going to turn it around. So one and then the other. I mean, the back I'm going to leave somewhat plain, but I am going to decorate it. And by decorate it, I mean I'm going to put some paper here and then paper at the top. So just make sure you have a line so you know where you want that to go. I'm showing you how I did the Valentine's Day one. So I went up a little higher than half for the bottom piece. So, I mean, ultimately it's not that important. Oh, and one thing else I wanted to point out is, so I've got, I think this was just the branding strip on the bottom, but I did have a different strip in the center, so you don't have to have the papers actually meet. I mean, they can, and you just cover it. So what I did is I drew a line straight across with the ruler. Now I'm going to take the paper and put it on the line. turn it upside down and trace. And then I'll cut this out. And you could probably cut 2 out at one time.
All right, and I've traced out the bottom of the camper, and I'm going to cut 2 out at one time. All right, so I've got the top and bottom of both sides. I'm going to go ahead and use art glitter glue and adhere it to it. Incidentally, the paper was from Country Craft Creation. It was part of the Welcome Easter collection pack. I had gotten the pastel plaid paper and also the Easter icon paper. So just 2 different papers from that Easter collection. And then I added some ephemera. Some I had in my kit, but it was from a earlier Echo Park collection. Not in my kit, it was in my stash. And then I cut a piece of, this was just scrap paper about 3/8 of an inch wide, and it's probably a 12-inch strip, and I just adhered it right straddling the 2 papers, and then I'll grab scissors and trim it in just a second. They're looking cute already. Okay, so now I want to show you some of the details that I put in, and you can decorate it the way I want, but this is how I decorated mine. First of all, for the door, I have a piece of scrap paper. It's about 6.5 by 3, and I'm going to trace the bottom and just trim that out. You could have it go straight across, and I'll show you in a second another one that went straight across. See how the door went straight? I just chopped the door. But whichever way you want to do it. So I'm going to put that down. And I made a mistake. What I should have done is made a hole, because I ended up using a brad as a doorknob. I corrected it later, but just keep that in mind. You'll see in a little bit. So let's adhere the door, just using art glitter glue. And I have a little window in the door. The window is about 2 by 2, about 2 by 2. And I cut some little 1/4-inch strips. I'm going to glue them on for the window panes and then just trim it. I just think it adds a nice bit of detail. Okay. And then I'll work on the window that's going to go on the side. So in this case I had this darker turquoise paper, and that was 4 inches by 3 1/4. And then I had a smaller piece on top that was 3 1/4 by 3. So I'm going to put window panes in for that smaller piece. Same thing I did with the window for the door, because you want to see out when you're camping if you're not sitting out near the fire, eating s'mores, having a beverage, listening to the birds. Camper crafting. Okay, so I'm going to adhere this to the darker turquoise. And again, I just use pieces of scraps from my stash. If you had more paper that matched this collection, I'm sure you could do some magical things. I can put the door on, but I'm going to wait on the window. I'm going to put the window on the door, but the window by itself I'm going to wait because I want to add some components to it. Okay, so let's play with the window. So I want to put an awning in. Here, I'll show you. So I did one on the Valentine's Day one, and there were little flower boxes in that Valentine's Day paper that I thought were cute. One is missing, but I cut a couple out and adhered it. So I'm going to make a window box and we're going to make an awning. Alright, so here is what we need to decorate the window. So I've got the window, and then that piece of card, a pink cardstock, is 2 1/4 by 5, and we're going to score that. Okay, so that window box you're going to score at 1/2 inch and then 3/4 on all 4 sides. 1/2 inch and 3/4. Okay, and then we're going to trim. So we're going to go up to the second score line and trim it at an angle. I'm trying to get it so you can see the score lines. So if I draw it with a pencil, I don't know if that's going to work, but we're going to try it. So you just trim at an angle past this, right to the second score line. Here, let me show you a little better. All right, if it would focus properly, you can see what I'm talking about. Just trim right up to that inner corner on all 4 sides. So you're going to have a piece that looks like that, and then we're going to grab some score tape. I'm using the 3/8 of an inch score tape. Put it in that bottom 1/2 inch and the top 1/2 inch as well. Grab your bone folder and burnish, and then let's burnish on all of those fold lines. So fold it and burnish the top, and then the next after that 1/4 inch and the bottom, and then let's do those little side pieces as well. Both those score lines need to be burnished. And then peel off the backing of that score tape on the bottom section. And we're going to fold it up and take those little flaps on the side and try to get it as much of a right angle as you can, and fold those in and adhere it to the score tape. And then we'll fold the top down.
To make the awning, we're going to take a piece of 1 1/4 by 5, and I'm going to score it. Actually, I'm going to score here at 1/4 and at 1/2. So you'll have 2 1/4 inch scores right next to each other. And then I'm going to just grab some scissors, and I'm going to make a scalloped edge to this. If you have a punch, that would be fabulous, but I don't have a punch, so I'm just going to hand cut it. I'm trying to stop right at the halfway mark of that white piece. Just to have some consistency in my scallops. Okay, and then I'm going to turn it over and score. I'm sorry, turn it over and burnish on those 2 fold marks. You can have a longer awning if you wanted to. All right, let's grab the window, turn it upside down, and on the top
put some score-it tape, take off the backing, and we're going to turn the awning upside down and just press that up against the back of the window. It was a piece of scrap paper, that's why there was writing on it. See? And then there's the other side. It's a little dimensional because we have the two score lines on it. And we'll go ahead and add some art glitter glue and figure out exactly where you want it on your little camper. And peel off the backing of the other piece of backing on that, what's going to be the window box, and just put it, I put it sort of up a little bit. And there we go. Now I've got this punch that's got leaves. I'm going to punch a couple of leaves in different colors just to help decorate it. Sorry, I'm off camera a little bit. There we go. So I'm going to use that lighter turquoise, and I think I have a piece of the darker turquoise. There we are. That I'll punch a couple, and I'm going to glue that on. Now, of course, you can decorate your window box however you want. I'm just adding a couple of drops of glitter glue on the front of the window box and on the window, just so it's dimensional. And then adding some of those leaves, and then I'll add flowers to it at a later point. But I'm just showing you how I decorate it. I really wish I had some leaves that sort of came down over the side, so I take one and try to fold it. That one I'm putting sideways. So I'm going to get creative with this one and put it on the edge and fold it over. It's okay. I want some ivy or something hanging down. Of course, I don't have a punch for that. Add a little bit more glue just to make sure it stays. And that's the beginning of my window box. Now, if you have the ephemera kit, maybe there's some different elements in there. I was gonna cut some flowers out of the paper, but they were very, very small, so I decided not to do that. I do have this little piece. It was from that Echo Park ephemera kit, and I fussy cut around the eggs and the little rabbit, and I'm going to stick that in the window box in the front. Not that you would grow eggs in your window box garden, but nobody's paying that much attention. And then I had these little flowers in that same ephemera pack, and I'm just going to add them just to get some color in that window box. That came out okay. It's pretty cute. I need something for the door, so I'm just going to go look around and see what I can find. But you know, I just realized that I forgot to put that door handle in. I was going to use this little eyelet. It's an eyelet without a hole. I don't know what you call that. But I'm trying to see if my Weird Memory Keepers punch will work, and it won't. So I'm going to have to go to plan B. So I go through my stash, and I'm going to grab a pokey tool and make a hole where the doorknob would be, and then see if I can find a brad to match with it. So I go through my stash, and I have some turquoise brads, and I'll just use one of those just to make something that looks like a door handle. Now, if you did one of these and used some metal embellishments, that would be fabulous. But All right, now I want to put the banner at the top, so I'm going to grab my hole punch, make a couple of holes up at the top. I'm sorry, again, I'm out of frame, but we'll put a hole. And you want to do this before you attach everything together. You want to finish decorating. I mean, you can add a couple of pieces, but the major things you want to finish decorating. So since I'm on an eyelet kick, I'll go ahead and grab my eyelets and use that We're Memory Keepers Crocodile. Sorry, out of film. So here, yep, you can just see it. So got that in. I have some string, and I'll go ahead and put it in each of the holes. I just cut, I don't know, 10 inches, which was way too much. I never can judge those things. And I guess I could tie it or I could glue it, but I just turn it over and grab some plain adhesive Scotch tape and just glue those little strings down. Trim it down a little bit. And there we go. All right. So now I have these banners. I have a banner punch, so I'm just going to fold them. You could put them on your scoreboard and fold them, but I'm just going to be a little lazy and fold them just about a quarter of a way down and add some glue. I think I added too much because it takes a long time to dry. Long is a relative word. I could have used score tape as well. Then I realized these two flags that I made look almost exactly the same, and I don't want two elements that look exactly the same to be next to each other. So as I'm letting them dry, which they never seem to do. Okay, you're dry. See, they look the same. Now I realize, all right, I'm going to have to move that one. So now I move that one and add another one, which looks almost the same as the first two. But at this point, it's not bothering me anymore. And I'll add the fourth one. All right, get on there, you. All right, I'll hold these down and let them dry, and then we'll move on to the wheels. Oh, I realize I need something else for the door, but I won't address that at this point. Okay, so I've already made one of the wheels, and let me show you how I did it. I have a piece of cardstock, and I'm using my score tape as a template. Now, I'm going to cut through the cardstock, and that's I'm sorry, not cardstock, chipboard. It's medium weight chipboard. If that's too hard for your hand to do, then get a couple of pieces of lightweight chipboard and cut out 2 or 3 and then glue them together. But I just took the blue cardstock, put it onto the chipboard, going to turn it over, grab a pencil, and just use that as a template, and then hand cut this circle. It is not going to be a perfect circle, but it's going to be close enough. So again, if you wanted to just cut a couple of pieces of medium weight chipboard, like the back of paper pad, you could use that. Maybe cut 3 of those. You could also use a die cut machine if you have a die cut to make circles. And the circle, by the way, is a 3-inch diameter. All right, I'm going to take some Distress ink and distress the edges fairly heavily just to give a little bit of roundness to the tires. I mean, you could actually distress that whole little glamper. I think it would be cute. I'm going to distress that little circle. So I cut some of those circles just using some punches I have. We'll add the purple one and then the blue one. But to make it look like a tire, I'm trying to just add some distress ink around the center of that tire, going out from the center. It is not a perfect science, but I tried it. And then I'm going to take that little scallop circle and distress that as well. And here is where I'm going to put in a little brad or an eyelet. It's that eyelet looking thing without a hole. What would you call that? So I'm going to scrunch that in. Whoops. And then glue the larger scallop circle down first. And then that smaller one. I don't know if you really needed it for the tire, but I liked it, so I added it. And then we're going to put the tires on the camper, because you can't go places unless you have tires. So what I decide to do is figure out where it's going to be and then turn the whole thing upside down. And I realize I want it to not go too much further than the bottom of the camper. So I trace where it's going to go, and I grab some score tape, put down a couple of pieces right here, I should grab my bone folder, but I don't. And then I put the tire on the inside. Come on, move it up. There we go. So you can see what it looks like. Pretty cute. And I'll do that to the other one also. Just trying to figure out exactly where it's going to go. Trace around it. Add the score tape. Peel off the backing and then put the tire where it needs to go. Fabulous. Okay, I'll burnish this real well now. Cute. All right, now we're going to make the dimensional part of it. So grab, you're going to need 2 pieces of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. I'm using the 100-pound cardstock, or 110, whatever you have. Cut it in half at 8 1/4, so you'll have 4 11-inch pieces by 4 1/4. And you're going to attach 3 together. You'll need 3 11-inch pieces, give or take some. So I'm scoring 1/2 inch on each of the long sides. And then I'm going to score every 1/2 inch from beginning to end on all 3 of those pieces. I'm going to speed this up. Okay, after you've gotten all those score marks done, and that helps put a curve to it, now you're going to have to notch at every inch. So just make a V notch add a score line, skip a score line, and make a V-notch. And just go through the whole 33 inches of it. We're going to attach the two of those in just a second. I'm showing you how to attach it because I attached them without having the camera on. So obviously you're just going to take a piece of score tape, put it on one of those 1/2 inch pieces, burnish, and just put one on top of each other. So do that. You don't want to have a complete circle, but you'll have about a 31.5 inch long piece. And then I'm putting little V marks, V notches where I attach those. But before we put everything together, I realize, that part of the under the tire is going to show. So I want to put a piece of backing under the tire. What would that be called? A fender well? I don't know. So I put a couple of pieces of score tape on the inside of it on each of the wheels. I cut a piece of scrap paper, semicircular, just to match the curve of the RV, and put a piece of score tape on each end, and do that for both sides. I have my glue gun heated up. You'll need a glue gun to put this together. There. That way you won't see the inner workings of the piece. Alright, now take one of your pieces, and we're going to start with the straight part. Go ahead and fold all those little flaps inside, and I used a glue gun because score tape was too immediate and art glitter glue was too slow. And if you can keep this to right on the inside, it would look better. So I need more glue. So just add glue to the inside, and you're going to go all the way around this. Take your time doing it. This is probably, it's not difficult, but this is the most time-consuming part that you want to make sure you get right. So just keep as straight as you can and just go around it slowly. If you need to, use a pencil so you don't burn yourself. Just try to make it as straight as possible once you've gotten it all around, and add the top. Make sure you've got it as straight as possible, and then start gluing at the top. And just work it slowly. This is where you may not want to use the hot glue, just to have a little give to it, but I use the hot glue. When I got it all together, then I cut some 12-inch pieces from scraps at 3 1/4 in the pink and attached them. I guess I had about 2 1/2 here, and then I went around the perimeter and added that to the roof just so you don't see the white with the score lines. Of course, you might like that, so that is entirely up to you. So here I've added a piece of score tape onto one of those long strips, and again they're 3 1/4 by 12. I put 2 together, and then I needed another 8 or 10 inches. And I'm just making sure it's going to fit well. See where it's going to match. Adding one more piece of score tape down at the bottom, so when it's all done it will match. And now I'm adding a bunch of glitter glue to the scored roof of the trailer camper and putting the pink paper on just to give it more of a finished look. So it takes a little bit of fidgeting, and then I join it on the bottom where that score tape was, and then I just have to hold it and work it a little bit, waiting for the rest of that art glitter glue to dry. Just grab your bone folder and be patient, and it will all eventually dry. I'm going to show you how I made we'll call it the hitch, but really what it is to help prop the little camper up so it sits straight. And basically it's just a little 4-sided long block. I put pink paper on 2 sides and on the ends. You could decorate this with maybe grass and flowers or bunnies or whatever you want to do, but it just helps prop it up so it doesn't lean too far forward. So we're going to take one of those leftover pieces. Remember, we cut 2 sheets of 8 1/2 by 11 paper and then scored it every 1/2 inch to join the 2 pieces together. Well, I had a piece left over of that, so I took one that was 5 1/2 inches, and this is by 4 1/4, and score on each side, on the long side at 1/2 inch, and then we're going to score every 1 inch. So we'll score it 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now I do this, it only needs to be 4 1/2, so I'm going to cut 1 inch off because I made it too big. Alrighty, now I'm going to grab my scissors, and where let me take off this autofocus, sorry. We're going to just cut in a V-notch at every score line on that 1/2 inch side. You're going to do it on both sides. And then I'm going to notch that one too. So we'll do that on this side, trim that at an angle. And just make V-notches every inch right at the score line. Actually, I'm going to cut this little 1/2 inch piece off. Okay, and then we will fold it, and on this 1/2 inch piece I'm going to put some score tape, burnish, and peel off the backing. So now we will just join this and make the little cube. Okay, then
I'm going to take the pink paper, or whatever color you want, and I cut it down to 3 1/4 by 1 inch. I put score tape. I'm using 2. You can do all 4 sides if you want. I put some score tape on it, and then I also took 1 inch squares and put score tape on that. And I'm going to go ahead and take off the backing of the score tape right now. Of those squares, because we'll need them in a second, and it's easier if they're ready to rock and roll. So I'm going to fold in these little flaps and then take that square, and that will hold that all together. Same thing with the other end. Just take this and try to line it up. And then take the 1 inch by 3 1/4 pieces and put it on 2 sides. So then when your little camper sits, you just put it right here so it has something to lean on, so it doesn't fall forward like that. So there's our little glamper with his Easter Bunny friend. I hope you like this tutorial. If you have any questions about the process, please leave it in the description box below, or go on Instagram at Project 39 Design and tag me on there, or send me a message. And I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And I hope you make one of these. Hope you enjoy doing the process. Thank you again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell for notifications so you can stay tuned and see what we're going to make next. Thanks again. Have a great day.